I want a hug.
When we say hello,
I want a hug.
when it's time to go,
I want a hug.
'cause I want you to know I'm awfully fond of you.
I want a hug.
What a wonderful feeling
I want a hug.
to feel you squeezing.
I want a hug.
It certainly seems like the natural thing to do.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Swans Bigfooty Podcast. My name is Bonz and joining me today we have Punts.
How are you guys?
Swansrule100
Hello.
and SM.
Hey guys.
Look, we're coming off it was a pretty lackluster 11-point win, but I'm not too disappointed with it. Swansrule, what are your thoughts on the match?
Well, it was very boring.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
It was a crap game. No,
It was an exciting game. It was a great game. It's very thrilling.
That fourth quarter, there was about 5 or 8 minutes where nothing happened and no one wanted to take the game on and win it. And I was getting pretty frustrated. But
You must hate the 05 grand final then.
I'd much rather watch the 2012 one than the 05 one. In all honesty, I'd rarely get that DVD out. That was nice because I would have taken a 1-0 point win in the 2005 grand final, but that was a boring game too. I thought that there was a lack of effort early on and we looked pretty flat. Interesting, Port looked flat early, but they got over it a bit more than us, and I think we just did enough to win, but that's what good sides do, I guess, and you can't really sneeze at 9 wins in a row, so, take the win and move on. But fix that Pike and Derek's issue, that's my main thing. I won't go through any players who stood out or anything apart from Kennedy Franklin, and that's about it. But yeah, fix the rucks because Pikes looks a bit clueless and Derek's does nothing, and I'm not sure which way you go, but you can't play both.
What are your thoughts on the fact that it was our third game in 12 matches, and we've had a few pretty tough matches recently? Do you believe that affected us on Friday?
No, look, we have the easiest draw ever crafted by the AFL, and we have so many breaks, and I can only imagine what Hawthorn and their fans go through with that draw. So look, it doesn't affect us in the slightest. The players have extra money for extra massages up in Sydney and stuff, so they're cherry right. But no, look, I think that in all honesty, I think playing that Port game, there must be a mental struggle to get up to the same amount every week when other teams are thinking, well, here's a chance to show something at home and take on the Swans. It must play a little bit on your mind, but there's no excuse for some of the sloppy efforts in that first half, but at least credit to them. We could have been looking at a loss and they end up winning, so I'll take it, move on.
Okay. SM, what are your thoughts on the game?
Well, as I've already alluded to, I actually really enjoyed the game. My old man's a Richmond fan, so maybe I had a bit of extra interest in the game, so I was pretty enthralled all the way through. And I think, as SR said, I think the difference between this year and in previous years is the fact that in these sorts of games in the past, we'll have laid down and lost to Richmond by about 30 or 40 points. But this year, maybe it's the Buddy factor, but I felt the whole team really lifted as well and got us over the line, which was really great to see. My standout has to be Buddy because I think in that second half he was pretty much the one who dragged us over the line with a couple of fantastic goals. And I mean, what a difference to a few weeks ago when he was 0-7 against was it Collingwood that he was 0-7?
Hawthorn.
And he's come out and kicked Hawthorn. Yeah, Hawthorn, and he comes out and kicks 4 straight on Friday night.
Which was great. That was Box Hill. Remember?
Box Hill, sorry, right? Yeah, that was the week we played the reserves. Yeah. So no, it was a great performance from Franklin, and the only criticism I'd have was the defence was a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
Right there, Punts?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, keep going.
Look, I think the defence was pretty poor in the first half, especially. I mean, Grundy and Richards weren't great on Revolt. There were a couple of times where I think there was even one point where there was a 3-on-1 and Revolt still managed to mark.
Brilliant. Again.
Yeah. Grundy had 7 1%ers. It was awesome.
I was very unhappy with Grundy's game. I thought he was pretty weak. A couple of contests where he was actually...
If you were unhappy with Grundy's game, you got fuck all idea about what you were watching.
Grundy was actually really good.
Yeah.
I'll pull out the clip of Grundy, Richards, and probably Laidler all going up against Revolt, and Revolt just plucking it out amongst them all. I mean, they were pretty average, but
7 1%ers a game high.
Yeah, good on him. He has to do something right in the game. So look, I think Franklin was the standout for me, and the defence could have lifted a bit more as the game wore on.
You've changed. You used to hate Franklin when we first got him.
Oh yeah, no,
I love him. What a bandwagon.
he was. I'm saying he was the man of the match. I'm not saying that I'm a personal supporter of him.
Wow.
You know who does love Buddy? That Alex Rance. He was hugging him and making love to him. Yeah. He really loves him.
Yeah. May as well go. Punts, what are your thoughts on the umpiring in the weekend? Because
the umpiring.
Yeah, the umpiring.
He didn't want to talk.
Honestly, was as I said, I didn't really want to talk about it. I seriously thought we were watching the State of Origin. It was like Wednesday night watching the State of Origin at one stage. You just wouldn't go anywhere. But I don't know. What are the umpires supposed to do? And I said, I'm not to that crap. I can't bother with the umpires. So I'll get into the game. I thought it was Harry Cunningham and Laidlaw's best game for the club. Harry Cunningham, 22 possessions, 6 marks. He went at 81%.
Okay, it sounds like Punts may have cut out there, actually. I may as well go on to my thoughts until he comes back in. Look, personally, I thought the best for... the main highlight out of that game for myself was actually Jones's debut coming on in the sub. He really played Shaw's role to a blom, and I don't know how his form was in the reserves before that, but he was pretty fantastic, I thought, at times. Like, he was so assured in his disposal, he was hard at it. 6 tackles and a half a footy's pretty good. I mean, the most... you had Kennedy and Parker who laid 12 and 11, but they played in the midfield, not in defence. And Punts, you back now?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry, you cut out before.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I thought it was Laidlaw and Cunningham's best games for the clubs. I thought Cunningham with 22 disposals that was definitely his best game. Also, Jeremy Laidlaw, I thought a couple of his intercepts were very good, and there was a crucial part where he got Dustin Martin, when Dustin Martin, is pretty quick, and he was running into about 50, and he just got him and put on a bit of a tackle and made Dustin turn it over, which was really good. But as you said with Jones, I think the first 5 minutes his jumper was already ripped. He was off and then back on with a new jumper. I think him and Blastone were going at it. As I said, when I said him in pre-season, he was a bit of a nutter. It looked like he got told to calm down a couple of times at the training track, so you knew that he was going to be a bit of a nutter, and you can tell by the tweets come through from Parker and a few others saying that they weren't surprised that he went off within the first couple of minutes with his jumper ripped off. So he's obviously likes to get into the opposition heads, which was good. I agree with SR on the ruck situation. I don't think we can play Derricks and Pike. Actually, they can't play Derricks and Pike in the same side. To get 9 possessions between them and 1 mark between them is absolutely useless. You just can't have that. It's almost having one player in the team as a liability. They might as well sit that player on the bench because it just becomes a liability. And if Pike's not taking marks forward, as I said, it just becomes a liability. The sooner we get Tippett, the better, I think. And even this week, if we can't get Tippett back, I still think they can't play one of them. If we're going to get smashed in the hitouts, we might as well have Reid getting smashed in the hitouts and giving us more around the ball at the clearances. When the ball comes to ground, then Derricks and Pike being both in the same side. So I thought Bird in the first half was really poor, but I thought to go on Cochin in that second half and shut him down. I think Cochin only had 1 possession in the second half, and Hardwick tried moving him to full forward, and it didn't work. But I thought Bird's second half was great.
Cochin had 10 disposals in the third quarter, but only 1 in the last quarter when Bird
went to him.
Really went to him.
Yeah.
Why did it take so long to get Bird on him, though?
Don't know. Interesting. Considering Bird had nothing in the first half and Cochin had so much in the first half, you would have just thought, oh, hang on a minute, we'll just put Bird to him. He's not getting a kick himself. What's the difference? Might as well tag him. A lot of criticism went to Brandon Jack. I thought there was a couple of times Brandon actually stood up and done a couple of good things. I know his efficiency was down. He turned it over a couple of times, but there was a mark that he took on the halfback flank in the last quarter that was really crucial. That I think they had about 3 Richmond blokes around him, and he took a pretty good mark.
Personally, I don't understand the criticism for Brandon Jack. You've had a bit more of the pill than usual, and I thought his disposal might not have been there, but Personally,
he
I
had
thought it was one of his better
17
games
odd
for the club.
possessions, and I thought he was. I thought he to start off with, looked like the game was a little bit quick for him in stages. He did turn it over a couple of times, but that'll come with time. And to get 17 disposals, and he's still very raw. I thought he was actually okay. And as I said, he took a real good mark on the halfback flank when they had it in there in the last quarter, and there was a couple of blokes around him, and he's not the tallest bloke and not the biggest bloke, so to take a crucial mark like that, it was pretty good. Obviously, Buddy stood up in that second half and almost won it off his own boot, probably again. But besides that, it was pretty flat game, and just good to get the 4 points and move on to GWS this week.
Jeez, the GWS game's going to be pretty big this week. I mean, does anyone else get the feeling that the club's just been waiting for this game since the end of round one?
No.
Swans
Don't know.
We'll piss it in.
You
If this
reckon it'll be a walkover?
Yep. This club is as good as I think it is, or anywhere near as good as I think it is. They won't lose to GWS twice in 1 year. They just won't. They won't allow it to happen, and it won't. They had their 2 wins in a row. Carlton almost even pinched it late, or not quite, and Carlton are pretty pathetic. I think we'll win by 40 to 50 points, regardless of the inclusions. I'll put a little disclaimer: if Pike and Derek stay in the team together, that'll give GWS a slight chance. But no, we're not losing this game.
SM, what are your thoughts on the GWS game?
Yeah, look, I think it will be pretty one-sided. I think we're in some pretty good form at the moment. I mean, Richmond at the MCG isn't the best indicator of the form we're in because we always struggle against them there. But I can't see us losing at the SCG, and I actually think it'll be pretty one-sided, much in the same manner as it was at the SCG last year. I don't think it'll get quite to 100 points, but it could be about a 40, 50, 60-point win maybe.
Punts?
No, I think it'll be closer than that. I know they only played Carlton today, but all the indicators were definitely on their side. Their midfield, give them a smack. Patton looks like he's definitely in the best form that he's been in since he's been at the club. He's been able to shift back at times and play loose. He's taken marks down forward. Obviously, probably Boyd will probably go out for Jeremy Cameron. Strengthens up a little bit more. I think the way they've gone with the ruck situation with Mumford being the number one and Patton pinch hitting is probably the best way. Mumford absolutely gave him a bath today with 55 hit outs, 18 possessions, and I think it was 7 tackles or something like that. So he's probably going to give one of our rucks, whoever they go with this week, a bit of a touch up. I thought their back line played well. They went with 4 tools, so they're probably going to have height covered for us. If we do bring in Tippett, I don't think it won't be 100. I can't see it being 100 points. I think they'll be up for it. So will Sydney, obviously after round 1. But they're in reasonable form. They pushed Hawthorn a couple of weeks ago. I think the last 3 or 4 weeks have been pretty good. And obviously we're going to be up for it. But I think it'll be six goals. I'll be happy with 6 goals and no injuries for once, because the last 3 weeks we seem to be getting 1 a week, where this sort of happened last year. So hopefully we can get Ben McGlynn back this week, and obviously Shaw looks like he's going to miss a little bit. He looked pretty disappointed after the game, so hopefully it's not a long term. I know someone said Doc Larkin said 2 weeks on 3AW, but whether he knows the results or not, who knows? We'll find out tomorrow.
Look, the main thing I'm worried about going into this game is I'm curious to see if Longmire will actually stand up for Franklin and some of the treatment he has gotten from the fullbacks during the week and say something. It's worked for Collingwood on occasions. It's worked for Hawthorn. Why can't we say something? I want us to take the initiative and make sure that Phil Davis this week isn't hugging Franklin the entire game. Look, I know Franklin's a sexy man, and Rance really might actually swing that way, but we've got it. There's a time and a place for everything, and I think the umpire's got to stand down on it.
Did it work for
Punch
Bruce
Davis in the kidney?
to for Barry Hall? Didn't work for Barry Hall and Paul Roos when they went to the umpires, so it's not going to work this time.
I think we just have to do something about it.
He's gonna
ridiculous.
He's going to cop it for the rest of the time he's up there. So, just like Barry Hall did. no change in that, I don't think.
Look, I think on the bright side, if there is something we can take out of it, he will be being played further up the ground this week, so we'll be bringing back the most important player in our list, in Kurt Tippett.
I was about to ask, he's due back this week, isn't he?
Yeah, he's due back, and hopefully Ben McGlynn as well, so...
I bet you Tippett doesn't play.
I guarantee he doesn't play.
There's no way.
No, he won't play. Not a chance.
He was only listed as 1 week last week. Surely he's going to come back in.
He didn't train last week, so...
And I bet he won't go to Perth either. I don't think he plays till Carlton.
Okay, that's interesting. I honestly think...
Based on nothing. It's just... Yeah.
Inside word of the club, do you?
Oh, I'm just doing a Doc Larkins, having a look at it.
No, I don't think they'll play him this week. I reckon he'll be touch and go for West Coast, and if not, it'll be Carlton at the SCG.
Look, I think he should. I'm hoping he comes back this week. They did say it'll only be a 2-week injury. It's been 2 weeks, so I'm going
You know better than to trust your medical staff, sure.
Look, I'm going to give him a last chance. I'm giving him a little bit of faith this time round. They haven't been too bad this season.
1 week means he's probably
when
on
they said
crutches
Adam
at the
Goods
moment.
was 3 to 4 weeks at the start of the year, he actually was 3 to 4 weeks.
They said Tippett was going to be 3 to 4 weeks, and he didn't play to round 9. Took him about 3.5 weeks to get the cotton wool off him. It's all stuck in his mullet or whatever his hair is, so it took him a while. So I doubt very highly he'll be back this week after 1 week of training. I don't even think they said he started running last week, so whether he comes out firing it on the training track this week, he might play. But will they risk him?
I guess the difference between now and when he came back the first time is the match fitness should be a bit hot. He shouldn't have lost too much in 2 weeks, but I don't know. Would you risk him against GWS?
And it wasn't a big lot of surgery or anything. I think he should be fine to get up.
Still surgery. Most of us would be on the couch after that.
Look, personally, I think he'll be fine to play this week. We might sub him out at halftime or 3/4 time, but he's too important a player not to bring in. Especially because if we bring him in, it's going to allow us to drop one of Pike or Derek's.
I think we drop him anyway. I don't think it matters.
I can't see us dropping one of them if Tippett isn't coming back into the side.
Look, drop one of them for McGlynn, and McGlynn can ruck. He'll give you more in the bloody middle than Pike or Derek's. Pike's like, I don't know what he's on, but he's drunk or something in that first half, and Derek's disappeared. I think Pike has the slight edge because that last quarter, I thought his ruck work was pivotal to the win, whereas Derek's probably didn't do as much, but Derek's at least can lay a tackle or do something. Pike was fumbly and inefficient in that first half, and he's lost that ability to do anything forward, and we don't win hit-outs anyway, so who cares who's in the ruck? Sam Reid can jump up against someone.
Yeah, even if they don't play Tippett this week, I hope they do drop one of the rucks and go with, I know Membray's young and hasn't played a senior game, but, surely he can offer a little bit more. I know everyone's saying that he's getting talked up like Lewis Johnson. I've seen both of them in the twos. I think Membray's a hell of a lot better player than Lewis Johnson was. I don't know, just get one of them bloody rucks out of the side. I don't care. I don't care if they bring in Stuart Jew or John Blakey.
I don't care if they
John
pick Punts. Anyway.
I don't give a shit. I'll give more than fucking Derek's.
Now, speaking of McGlynn, in 2012, he has actually got a hit out for us before in a loss against St Kilda.
Jeez. Who was he in the ruck against?
I don't know. I'm just looking at statistics right now. He's had 1 hit out at the Swans, and he's had 2 at Hawthorn.
Pretty piss weak against about whoever's in the ruck against him.
And the most scary thing is, every game he's had a hit out in, they've never won. Let's not put him in the ruck. And all 3 of his hit outs have been at Docklands.
Oh, was the roof closed? Maybe he was hanging off the roof.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Have you got Bruce McAvaney tucked away in your bedroom today, Bonz, because sharing those stats?
Delicious.
With Pike and Derek, seeing as I think all 4 of us agree one has to go generally, like, is anyone keeping Derek's? I'm not, but is anyone else?
I would. I'd prefer Derek's to Pike only just because Derek's has had the longer run in the team, whereas Pike, off 1 week's performance, doesn't look like he's really up for anything.
Look, personally, if it was...
I liked his snap across the goals. That was a ripper, that one.
Oh, yeah.
That was a ripper. And then when Good's hand passed to him, he was having a coffee.
Oh, the hand pass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having a chat.
Yeah, I think he was giving it. He
Why
was
wouldn't
giving an
Goods go
autograph.
back and kick the goal though? He was like 30 out.
It was both their faults, but
Yeah,
geez,
Goods was
Pike
about-
almost
he
was
looked like he was
walking
about
back
to-
as if he was walking down to the rooms. And Jesus Christ! Oh, could have landed on his head, and he still wouldn't have known. It was bloody awful. He was seriously walking back to the rooms. I swear, he thought the siren had went because Jesus Christ.
He must have thought the siren had gone.
Oh, I swear he was going to give an autograph to someone. Like, I don't know what. Maybe it was the rugby try. Someone yelled out, "Can I have your autograph for that try that he did when he was playing?" Because that was awful. He was seriously walking off as if the siren had gone, they'd won the game, and he was going off to give an autograph or give someone a football or something. Honestly, it was terrible. And that goal,
he was
tried
poor.
kicking across. And that snap that he tried doing. That was,
Look, at the same time, look, this is only me watching at the ground, but it seems like even in a marking contest, he provides a bit more of a contest than Derek's at times.
yeah, he does. He took one mark in the weekend.
Derek's is an honest try. Look, we're not going to lie, he's been a great fill-in, but if it's coming to September, are we going to want Mike Pike with match fitness and hopefully getting back into a bit of form, or what Derek's is providing for us right now?
Well,
Or
I'd rather
Shane
Pike. Yeah. I'd rather Pike any day over Derek's if they're both fully fit and firing. But at the moment, it's almost a toss of the coin because Pike didn't show any more than Derek's did on the weekend. He took one more mark and had one more possession. They had 9 possessions between them, and one mark went to Pike. Like, I don't know what. Obviously, I think the last quarter, as SR did say, there was a couple of. I think he tapped it down to Kieran Jack, and Kieran Jack kicked it to Lance Franklin when he was getting held on to, and I think that was Franklin's last goal. So that was a bit of a pivotal moment. There was a couple other taps that he did. So obviously, fully firing, he's the number one ruck in. Well, that's what I think, but he hasn't shown this year at all that he's. Every time he's been that number one ruck, even in round 1, he got a spanking by Mumford. I know he did come off a limited pre-season, and Mumford would have been up for it, been against his old club. And there's just a couple of times where, going on form, they're both, as I said, you can flip of the coin. They're not really, neither are really showing, number one. I think that Derek's would be pretty stiff to get dropped, but as Summer said, he was only brought in to be backup. So, but so
I
was
agree with what you
Laidler.
say, but so I sort of decided in my mind that I go with runs on the board and give Pike first crack at it while they're both fit, on the basis that if he can't do it, we've got Derricks to bring in, worst case, but neither of them are that good yet, or really I'd like to upgrade over the off-season, but you can't carry both in that team. And given the impact the ruck has on our performance anyway, I think, as someone said, just throw Sam Reid in for a chop out and let's run with an extra running player.
Runner, yeah. Gary Rowan or Tim Membrane, someone like that.
Well, I'm not sure if we can bring in too much more inexperience into the team. Like, we're starting to look pretty young.
Well, you'll get Ben McGlynn back this week.
Hopefully,
And I honestly think that a Membrane would probably give just as much as a Derricks, wouldn't he? As I said, nobody's seen him at senior football or AFL level, but 4 possessions. Is he
Can't
going
do
to
much
give?
worse.
Yeah, exactly right. Like it's
think
almost.
about it this way, though. We're probably going to lose Shaw this week due to that ankle injury. I can't see him coming back. He looked pretty distraught at half time. So we lose Shaw already in our side for inexperienced players. You've got Lloyd, Jones, Rampy, Reid.
Oh,
Jack.
Rampy's not really. Reid, Rampy, so on, have been playing for a couple of years now. Reid's been playing for 4 years now, so you can't really call them too inexperienced. I think what you bring in McGlynn for sure, and then as Punts and SR are saying, maybe you bring in a memory for Derricks, and you're not really losing much.
Otherwise, you're leaving us with Ryan O'Keefe coming in your
I don't think
logic.
we're going to bring in Ryan O'Keefe, but at the same time, I don't think we can start bringing in every youngster we've got on our list. I mean, I know experience is pretty important in football, and there is a tipping point. I'm
Against
just
the
worried.
Giants, they're pretty experienced.
Look at how you bring in a few experienced heads to their team this year, such as Hunt, such as Mumford, and look at the difference it's made to them. we lose too many more of our players. Like, we're missing the likes of Hanbury, Tippett already. Now we're losing Shaw. We bring in too many more kids playing their first or second games. Eventually, there's going to be a tipping point, and it's going to hurt us.
But you look at someone like Lloyd, who's now been playing for 8 or 9 games, and he's starting to look pretty settled. You can't really look at him and say, well, yes, it's his first year, that sort of thing. But it's not as if there's 6 or 7 first gamers that we're playing.
That's true.
I actually think this week, if McGlynn does come in, which I think he is ready, but I think they'll just bring in McGlynn, and I think Brandon Jack might go to sub, and they might play Jones, obviously, in Shaw's role, like they did in the second half last week off the half-back flank, which he's been doing in the twos. He actually has been playing off the half-back flank in the twos and racking up, 25 to 30 possessions on a weekly basis. And I'm pretty sure after the game, Longmire and a few others were really happy with the way Jones went about it. So I think he'll step up and play Shaw's role because they've got no other option unless they upgrade to Biggs, which I don't think they'll be doing that. And Gary Rowan's been playing off halfback as well, but Jones has showed in that second half last week that he deserves a chance to play that role. So I think he might play that role. And I know you can't have too much inexperience, but can you get any worse than 4 possessions out of
Okay, I think Punts is...
Derek's? You might get 2 out of Membro. Is it going to change the result of the game? Probably not.
Is Tom Mitchell fit this week?
To play in the reserves, they said that he'll be fit.
Where the hell is D Towers? All these other kids keep coming in. He got a first-round pick last year. Well, is he ever going to play a bloody game, or is he a bust?
He's injured at the moment, isn't he?
Oh, that's
heaps of them are back this week. Apparently on the injury list anyway. Tom
Towers
Mitchell
had an ankle injury, so he was out for a couple of weeks.
So Bonz,
Yeah.
if you've got Shaw, let's say Shaw's injured, right?
Yeah.
And Derek's goes out because you got to fix the team balance up, and you're worried about experience. Who are you bringing in?
Okay, if Tippett's fit, obviously that's if. I think it'll be Tippett in for Derek's, McGlynn in for Shaw. But if Tippett isn't fit, I think they're going to keep both Pike and Derek's. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think we will need to keep another tall and play him out of the goal square. Otherwise, we're going to allow what Port Adelaide did and keep a loose man in defence.
I think Rowan could play forward as a tall.
I wouldn't be against us bringing in Rowan into the team. He's played some games now, and look, I'm worried about bringing in another first gamer at the moment.
Oh, you were calling Reid inexperienced. Rowan's not much more inexperienced than Reid.
I'm a bit worried about Goods. He's not that experienced yet.
Look, I'm saying, I don't want to bring in too many raw players. I'm not a massive fan of it. Personally, I think if Tippett isn't fit, there's only going to be one change, and that'll be Shaw out, McGlynn in. That's all I think is going to happen if Tippett isn't fit. I don't think they're going to bring in many more youngsters to the team.
I like the Rowan and Membry. Rowan and Membry and Shaw and Derek.
And what you're saying, Bonz, is if that happens, yeah. So what you're saying, Bonz, is Jones will take Shaw's role and play a full game, and BJ will go to sub.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Brandon Jack sub. I do like Jones. I want Jones to get a full game this week. I was really impressed with his second half.
But at the end of the day, he has to, because Sydney always play 7 defenders and a running half back. You're missing in Shaw, so you've got to fill that void. McGlynn comes in for BJ. BJ goes to sub. That's probably the obvious sort of change. And I don't think they'll go with 6 defenders. And I've heard talk of McVeigh going back to the half-back flank, but I don't think that will happen. I think he's so much better off a half-forward flank. I think the way Longmire spoke, I think that Jones will probably take Shaw's role and BJ will have to go to sub, if not dropped. I don't think he'll get dropped, but that's the only way I can see it. So it leaves you 7 defenders.
The other things we haven't considered were Kieran Jack took that knock to the hand. Has anyone heard anything about that? And Kennedy's knee was heavily strapped, and he was a big rumour to be out Friday, even though he ended up playing. Is there any concerns there? Anyone's heard anything about?
And Goods' shoulder, I think.
Oh, but that was more of a stinger, wasn't he?
More of a stinger. I think Goods will be fine. I think they'll all be okay. If we were really that worried, they wouldn't have played out the match.
Like Canterbury.
True, actually. Touche.
If Longmire can put some sticky tape on and get him back out there, he'll throw him out there. He's not rested or doing anything like that.
Jeez, yeah.
Look, we'll have to wait for Thursday. I think this week, I honestly do think Tippett will be back in, but if he isn't, I'll just be one in. But that's just my opinion. What are your tips for the week, SM?
Look, I'll say Swans by 40 points. We're doing sure thing as well, or just a
Yeah, we'll do the sure thing as well, and worst nightmare.
Sure thing is probably. Oh, this is a hard one. I reckon Tippett will come back in as well. I think he'll. Well, if he doesn't come back in, I reckon Franklin will kick a bag, on his own as he's been doing. But if Tippett comes back in, I think Tippett will probably kick more than Franklin.
Okay, Swansrule, your sure. Oh, sorry, your worst nightmare, SM.
Oh, worst nightmare. Where do we start with GWS? Probably worst nightmare is actually not losing to GWS this week. Worst nightmare is probably getting another bad injury to a key player, because they're starting to fall like flies. And I mean, it's not too bad at the moment, but any more injuries to key personnel, and it'll be a bit like last year all over again.
Okay, Swansrule, tip, sure thing, and worst nightmare.
Look, I think we lost the first round. Complacency, lack of pace, panic, those three factors. I don't think the complacency will be an issue. I think O'Keefe and Mitchell out since round one fixes the pace, and I don't think we'll get to the position where we have to panic that, hey, we're going to lose to GWS for the first time. So I'm tipping a comfortable Swans win. My sure thing, probably... don't have to think about it. My sure thing is probably that Heath Shaw will get called Reshaw by the commentary team at some stage, or they'll mention something like that, or Dwayne Russell will commentate. That's probably the sure thing. My doomsday scenario would probably be, I'd have to agree with the injuries. An injury to Josh Kennedy would be my worst nightmare, because they're dropping like flies, but I think he's almost our most valuable player in terms of what he brings to the side.
Okay, Punts. Punts, your sure thing, worst nightmare and tip.
I'll tip us by 27. Worst nightmare is obviously another injury, and actually the worst nightmare is to lose to them twice in a year. And my sure thing is Jones to lay 10 tackles over the game.
Okay, my sure thing is Tippett to come back in this week. I agree with SM. I can't see him not playing. My worst nightmare is a loss. Agree with Punts. If we lose to GWS 2 times in 1 year, we're all not going to hit the end of it. Bigfooty will... I'm a moderator and I probably won't log in for a week. And my tip, Swans win by about 3 goals. In a close one.
I bet you $20 Tippett doesn't play.
You're on.
Oh, big man.
You're on. I reckon
You're
you'll
on.
play this week.
No way. I win either way, don't I?
You do win either way. Okay, anyways, thank you for listening to this week's edition of the Swans Bigfooty Podcast. My name is Bonz. Tonight I've been joined by SM.
Thanks, guys.
Swansrule.
See you later.
And Punts.
Cheers.
Have a great one, guys, and good night.